Hello, class. Today I'm going over understanding the interviewing process. So, the first step is screening. They're going to look through all of the applications they've received and they're going to immediately rule out anyone that doesn't qualify. Generally, this is because you don't have enough experience in the things they're looking for. You don't have a degree. Your degree doesn't match what they're looking for. That's kind of rare. Generally, they're going to rule out anyone that doesn't have a degree or doesn't have the experience that they're looking for the job. You want to stand out in your application. You want to have things that grab their attention right away. Uh, Meet all the check boxes. Be able to check all the boxes that they're looking for, um, but have something that pops that they'll see right away that they don't have to read a paragraph to get to, because at this stage they're probably not going to read a paragraph. They'll just skip right past it. The next step is selection. Once they get their list pared down and start scheduling interviews, if you haven't heard from them at that point, follow up. Be polite, don't be insistent, but just send something out saying, hey, haven't heard from you. Is this position still open? I'd love to interview for it, whatever. Sometimes just sending a polite follow up and showing that you're capable of proper business communication is enough to get you on their radar and into the next step. So once you're called in for the first wave of interviews, a lot of times there's multiple, sometimes it's just one. Uh, when you come in for the interview, you want to be dressed well. I mean, don't go crazy. Look like you'll look when you're on the job, assuming it's a job with a dress code. If it's not, then look a little nicer than you would when you're on the job, because you are trying to make an impression. You should be confident, but don't be overconfident. You don't want to be cocky. You don't want to look like a know-it-all, but you do want to give the impression that you're capable and that you're able to uh, proactively get things done. In order to have that feeling of confidence and to be able to project it, you really need to know what you're talking about. If you're interviewing for the job you're interviewing for, you should already have done the research to know what is required of someone in that position, what the company does, what they're going to expect from you, so that you can be prepared to answer questions about it, and so that you can proactively show that you are suited to the position. You're selling yourself, your skills and abilities to them, so that hopefully you can get to a later stage where they're going to try and sell the company to you. So be prepared, ask good questions. How soon do we get paid? Well, good info to have, something you'll need to know. Not a great question for the interview. Ask things that will give the impression that you came prepared and that you have an understanding of what the job entails. After that is finalizing. If it gets that far, if it goes through multiple rounds and they have like a final round of interviews, at that point, they're probably, anyone that makes it to that stage, they're probably happy with any of them they get, and they're really looking to see if anyone really stands out, or they may be at that point trying to convince you to accept the job. If they've got, if they've narrowed it down to three candidates and the candidates have other places they're applying, at that point they may be trying to sell the company as a good workplace to you. Different types of interviews could be structured or open-ended. In a structured interview, they have a set list of questions they're asking everyone they interview, so that way it's standardized, and when, especially if there's multiple interviewers, they can compare notes and see how each person answered each question. In an open-ended interview, they'll start more conversationally and ask pertinent questions and see how you answer, and then kind of go from there. They're basically trying to navigate how much of what was on your application is real and how much is made up to try and get the job. Um, it may be an individual interviewing you. That's how it usually is in my experience. It may be a group of people interviewing you. I've had that as well. It could even be, according to the text, a group of people, a group of applicants all being interviewed simultaneously. I've never seen that, but I suppose in certain industries it works. Um, in my experience, it's either a one-on-one or sometimes two, maybe even three interviewers at once. And in those situations where there's more than one, you want to give each person your focus and attention when they're talking to you. Make each of them feel like you respect them and that you want to prove yourself to them. Um, it can be it can be tempting if one of the interviewers seems to like you to kind of focus on that person and think, I've got this because this guy likes me or this girl likes me. But the other interviewer or interviewers can just rule you out because you didn't make that connection with them. So you want to try and connect with each of them individually and as a group. Different types of questions they'll ask. There are behavioral questions, such as, tell me about a time where a project you work on failed and how you handled that. Or tell me about a project that you felt was really successful and why you think it was successful. Another way they can do it is situational. They'll give you hypothetical job scenarios. What would you do in this situation? And that's the sort of thing where if you haven't come prepared, you don't know what someone in that job will be doing, questions like that will out you. They'll know that you didn't prepare on questions like that. And there's also working questions where if it's a job where you're performing tasks on a computer, they'll set you down in front of a computer and have you go through a mock-up of an actual job scenario and see how you can handle it. If you've told people that you're this Excel and Access wizard and they set you down in front of a computer and you don't even know how to copy paste, you're not going to get that job. Pardon me. According to the text, there's also stress interviews where they intentionally push your buttons and try and get you upset to see how you react to stress. I've never seen that either. Doesn't sound comfortable, but if it happens, just keep your calm and use the principles we've talked about in business communication. It's not just for emails, it's also one-on-one. Be able to keep a level head, think about what you're going to say before you say it, so that you can make sure that you're not responding in a rash manner. Also, interviews aren't just face-to-face, they can also be through over the phone, through instant messaging, even emails. And even though they may seem informal by comparison, they're every bit as valid, and they can get you taken out of the pool of possible applicants just as quickly. So treat it with the respect the job interview deserves. So overall, be confident without being cocky, go in prepared, have a good idea of what the job does so that you can speak to the duties you'll be doing during the interview. You should already know how to do the job, or else you're not the right applicant anyway. So, look forward to your comments.